Welcome to a new video, which is about absolute value equations. I will explain the subject with illustrative examples. This topic is a little confusing, and because of that, to master the topic, I will solve 3 challenging questions at the end. If you want to support this channel, don't forget to subscribe, click on the bell and turn on the notifications to be aware of the uploaded videos. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. Let's start with the definition where the absolute value comes from. It is a distance. As I wrote here, the absolute value of a number is the distance of that number to a point. For example, we want to talk about something which has 2 units distance to a point. If you think that's 0 point, okay, if you go left side from 0, then we can come over here like, if you think this is a number line, okay, on the number line, when you come to -2, we can say that the distance of -2 to the starting point 0 is 2 units. And when you go to the right, okay, we can talk about the same thing. The distance of that 2 to the starting point 0 is also 2 units. There is a symbol to show this. We say that the absolute value of 2 is 2. The absolute value of -2 is also 2. And this is understandable. Exactly, the number goes outside as it is. But how we can make this negative positive? If the inside of the absolute value is negative, then by just putting in front of it a negative sign, we can take it outside and we can get rid of the absolute value sign. That is the reason, actually. That is why it becomes positive, because negative times negative is going to be positive, so the result is going to be positive. That is the definition, actually. That is what I said is written here. In an absolute value like x, if that x is greater than 0, then that number comes outside as it is. If the inside of the absolute value is 0, then of course the content, the inside is 0. And if the inside of the absolute value is negative, which means less than 0, then it comes out as by taking a negative sign in front of it. That is why it becomes positive. As I solved here, how we can make -2 a positive? Well, just put negative in front of it and then you can make it positive. That is the logic that we have here. To grasp the topic exactly, you need to see different questions to master the topic, and because of that, in this video I will solve more questions than I do in regular videos. Okay, let's get started with our first example. In this question we are asked to find the value of this calculation. This is already 3. This is -6 because the inside of the absolute value is negative, so I'm going to put a negative in front of it to make it positive. So it comes out as +6. Plus this is already +6 minus this is already +1. You may say that, okay, why here we have negative? Because that negative comes from this, okay? It doesn't have anything to do with the inside of the absolute value. 3 plus 6, 9. 9 plus 6, 15. 15 minus 1 is 14, guys. So the final answer is 14. And let's take a look at our next example. In this example, x is given to us as 3.1, and if that is the case, what is the result of that calculation also? This is already 2.6, okay, plus if you plug 3.1 in x here, then what we're going to have in the absolute value sign 3 times 3.1 minus 9, plus this is already a number, okay, there is not any variable inside, so just make whatever we have inside, just make it positive. So we're going to have 0.1 from that absolute value. But how about here? Let's consider this part. 3.3 times 3.1 is 9.3, okay, minus 9. Then from here we're going to have 0.3, guys. Absolute value is an absolute value. Just let me write the other part. 2.6 plus, there is also plus 0.1, plus 0.1. Now we have absolute value 0.3 and it comes out as 0.3 as well. It is already a positive value. And write the rest of the question. Okay, plus 0.1, 2.6, 0.3, 0.1. How we were adding decimal points numbers? Well, there was a rule, if you remember. And that rule was you need to align those points, okay? You need to align the numbers according to those points. Those points have to be in the same column. And once you do it, 3 plus 6 is 9, 9 plus 1 is 10. Put point here, 1 plus 2 is 3. So the result is, guys, 3 in this question. And let's take a look at the next question. This is a special type of question that it has its own unique solution. Okay, how we can solve this question? Well, if there's an absolute value, and if there is another absolute value, and if there are more absolute values, and if the sign between all of those absolute values are positive or plus, then and if the result is 0, the only solution is we need to make every inside of the absolute value 0, okay? Because 0 plus 0 in the absolute values, this is 0. If we have, like, for example, from 5 here, let's say, okay, we cannot have -5 from here because this is an absolute value already. There is no any negative value which can come outside, okay, from an absolute value. And if you add those numbers up, the result has to be 0. That is why every inside has to be 0, guys. And which a value makes the inside 0, of course, 4. So from the first absolute value term, we have a is equal to 4. From the second absolute value term, we have b is equal to -2 to make the inside of the absolute value as 0. We are asked to find a times b, and if you multiply 4 by -2, the result is going to be -8, guys. Before solving question, we have a property. Okay, suppose that we have absolute value of f of x and that is equal to a. We have two options in this case. The inside might be positive a, or the inside might be -a. So there are two options. Why? Because the absolute value of a is a, absolute value of -a is also a. And suppose a is a number. Considering this fact, we have a question and it says the absolute value of 2x minus 3 if the result is 1, and then what is the value of x? Well, the absolute value of -1 is 1. The absolute value of +1 is also 1. In other words, okay, we have two options. Either 2x minus 3 is +1 or 2x minus 3 is -1. Just send this -3 to the right. So 2x is equal to, so it's going to be 3 plus 1. 2x is 4. Divide both sides by 2. These are gone. X is 2, guys. For the people who don't know, again, what I did here, sending other side, I recommend you to take a look at one of my previous videos about shortcuts in calculations. Anyway, so in the first case, we have x is equal to 2. For the second case, again, send this -3 to the right to make it positive. 2x is, now it becomes +3. 3 minus 1. 2x is 2. If you divide both sides by 2, and then x is 1, guys. So we have 1 here, we have 2 here, and then solution is 1 and 2. And let's take a look at the next example. In this question also, we are asked to find the value of x. Here, if you send this 2 to the right, okay, and the question becomes absolute value of 4x plus 5, and the result is, because if you send +2 from left to right, we're going to change its sign, so it's going to be -2, guys. We are looking at the right, okay, it is a negative number, and if you look at the left, it is an absolute value. The absolute values cannot be equal to a negative number, okay? Absolute value of -2 is already +2. The absolute value of +2 is already +2, and that is not possible, guys. So because of that, the solution set is empty set or null set, and we can see the same symbol like this, okay? And let's continue with the next question. We have another question saying that if x is less than 0, what is the value of absolute value of x minus in the absolute value 2x minus 1 plus in the absolute value 3 minus x? So we need to find out whether or not the inside of the absolute value is positive, okay? X itself is already negative, like think it as a -1, for example, okay? Right now, we have already -1 inside. How we can make it positive? If you remember what I said at the beginning of the topic, we were going to bring negative in front of that to make it positive, okay? So bring negative in front of it, and then get rid of the absolute value symbols. X is negative, okay? So we have negative here. And that is also negative. Negative is going to be negative. To make it positive, just bring negative in front of it, okay? So I'm going to bring negative in front of it. 2x minus 5 plus here, because x itself is negative and there's a negative in front of it, and because of that, the inside is positive. So we just take whatever inside as they are to outside, okay? Because the inside of the absolute value is positive already, so we're gonna have 3 minus x from here. If there's more than one sign together, okay, we need to multiply the signs. If you multiply negative by negative, we're gonna have positive here. And we have negative x as a first term, and just write down those values. So we're gonna have 2x minus 5 plus 3 minus x, guys. Minus x is gonna be negative 2x. And we have here positive 2x. And we have here negative 5 plus 3, which is negative 2, guys. These are gone, so the result is negative 2, guys. Okay, here you may say, okay, we have all absolute values and we have negative 2. Why we have negative 2? Well, that's a logical question, but if you look at here, we have negative sign here. That is why the result is, of course, it depends on the inside here, and that is why we have a negative 2 in this case. And let's continue with the next question. We have a multiple choice question here. Y is given depending on x and z is given depending on y. And as a result, what is the value of z? Well, we need to put that x, okay, here, and we're going to find y. And then we're going to put that y here to find z as a final answer. So we need to look at whether or not the inside is positive, okay? We need to find out this. So square root of 5 minus 3. Is it greater than 0 or less than 0? We need to find out this. We know that square root of 9 is 3, right? But we have square root of 5. If there would be square root of 9 minus 3, then the result would be 0. But because we have square root of 5 minus 3, and because square root of 5 is less than square root of 9, so the result is going to be negative, guys. So right now, the inside of the first term, okay, is negative. How are we going to make it positive? We'll just put negative in front of it. So we're going to have x as negative square root of 5 minus 3. And if you distribute this negative into the parentheses, then we're going to have x as 3 minus square root of 5, guys. And now we're going to put that value here. So y is going to be square root of, instead of x, I'm writing 3 minus square root of 5 minus 5, guys. So we have 3 and negative 5 here. 3 and negative 5, we're going to have negative 2, of course. So it's going to be absolute value of negative 2, negative square root of 5. And it is obvious that the inside of the absolute value is negative. And I'm going to make it positive. So to do that, I'm just bringing negative in front of the whole term. So negative 2 negative square root of 5, and distribute this negative. So y is gonna be, guys, 2 plus square root of 5, and I'm gonna put this here to find the z, okay? So z is gonna be in the absolute value. Instead of y, I'm writing 2 plus square root of 5 minus 2, guys. And in the next step, these are gone, so we're gonna have absolute value of square root of 5, and because the inside is positive, just take it out as it is, so it's going to be square root of 5, and that is the final answer, which gives us the answer as A, guys. And let's continue with the next question. Okay, guys, this is our last question in this video. As you can see, we have more than one absolute value, and you may encounter those questions as well. Well, firstly, because we have 8 here, we have 2 possibilities from here, guys. Either the inside, okay, the inside, which is the absolute value of x plus 5 plus 2 is positive 8, or the absolute value of x plus 5 plus 2 is negative 8, guys. And in the next step, if you, for the first case, if you send these 2 to the right, and let's do the same thing here also. For the first case, we have absolute value of x plus 5, and here we're gonna have 8 minus 2, which is 6. And send this to the other side, make it negative, the absolute value of x plus 5, and that is equal to negative 10, guys. And because here it was positive 2, and now it's going to be negative 2. Anyway, so we have an absolute value on the left, and on the right we have negative 10. That is not possible, guys. We cannot get any solution from here, because every value of an absolute value, okay, is not a negative number. It is always a positive number. So that is why we don't have any solution from here. But if you look at here, again, we have 2 options. Either we have x plus 5 as 6, or x plus 5 as negative 6, guys. If x plus 5 is 6, then just send this to the right to make it negative. So x is gonna be 6 minus 5, so x is 1, guys. And from here, just send this to the right, so x is gonna be negative 6, negative 5 is gonna be negative 11, guys. So we have two solutions in our set. If you wanna make sure about your results, okay, you can just try them. Okay, for example, we found out that negative 11 is a solution, right? So just put negative 11 instead of x, and let's see what's gonna happen. Negative 11 plus 5 is gonna be negative 6, because there's an absolute value which comes out as positive 6. So positive 6 plus 2, there is also absolute value, which is 8, and that is correct. And if you try 1 as well, 1 plus 5 is 6. Absolute value of 6 is 6. Again, 6 plus 2 is 8. Absolute value of 8 is also 8. And so both values work. It shows this. And in this case, you can find out whether or not you have the correct solution. And as I said, this topic is a little bit challenging. And to master the topic, always I recommend you to make also practices in this regard. We are done with the topic, guys. Thank you for watching, and hopefully see you in the upcoming videos.